Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the piece of shit Long Islander who is picking against all three of the Serra Longo fighters. And that brings me to Dennis Buzukja making his return to the UFC against Jamall Emmers. Dennis Buzukja is 11-3, he's a pro, 26 years old, and he's given up 1 inch of height and 3.5 inches of reach to 34-year-old Jamall Emmers, who is 19-7. And Dennis Buzukja made his debut in the UFC a few months ago against Sean Woodson on very short notice. Very, very short notice. I think you can throw in two verys. And he gave one hell of a fight, but he was outmatched in that fight. Sean Woodson, boxer first and foremost, out-grappled him, really. No, but he laced up some nice chokes there. Showed some new wrinkles, Sean Woodson, but in general, yeah, he was a little too much for Buzukja, but Buzukja, who is Buzukja, by the way, Buzukja did fare well there, especially for a guy taking it on short notice, and I thought he stood tall and gave a good account of himself. He lost 2 other fights, one to Nick Rodriguez, a wrestler, and one to Melsik Bagdasaryan, who is, I think, still in the UFC, but an excellent striker, Melsik Bagdasaryan, and that was a close fight on the Contender Series, where Buzukja was giving him hell on the feet, giving him a good battle, but he was largely outgunned there by Melsik Bagdasaryan. He also won on the Contender Series against Kaleo Romero, guy who was a wrestler, and that was a fight where Buzukja was able to take away his wrestling by taking away his cardio. And he wasn't able to put him away, but he still looked good in a 15-minute effort, winning a decision there. He got a one rear naked choke victory, and that's in his most recent win before he got to the UFC. So that's something, but it's still over a 6-5 guy. Generally speaking, Buzukja is not the biggest submission threat, I'd say. But definitely confident on the feet, really good and really, really tough, which is a great trait to have for a guy that wants to be throwing leather. Here he's fighting Jamall Emmers, who is 19-7. Jamall Emmers, he's a very well-rounded fighter, and he is a long and tall fighter. As I mentioned, he's got almost 4 inches of reach. Jamall Emmers has long arms, and he's got some good pop at his punches. Once he finds his rhythm, he's, in a pure striking sense, he's a problem for anybody. I always go back to the Giga Chikadze fight. Go watch that fight. And once he figured out he could strike with Chikadze, it was a different fight. I think Jamall Emmers is underrated in that regard. But his primary attack is wrestling. He wants to rip you to the mat and control you. I think he can duplicate a lot of the success that Sean Woodson had against Dennis Buzukja, but I think he can do it in a much more conventional sense. Jamall Emmers is really good at striking on the outside. Again, he's got long, straight punches, and using that to mask a nice entry. He's got great takedowns and smothering control. And also, as he showed against Jack Jenkins in a loss, he's a really good scrambler. He definitely won that fight. I had him winning all 3 rounds, but that's beside the point. Let me just talk about his losses so you know that I know how they happened. He's got 2 TKO losses. Thiago Moises TKO'd him in round 5. I think Jamall Emmers took that fight on short notice and came out and looked good in round 1, and then it was just a slow death after that, and Thiago beat him on the feet and got him out of there in round 5. And Julian Erosa knocked him out with a head kick on the Contender Series. I think that was on the Contender Series. His 2 submission losses come to Ray Trujillo, a true journeyman, and a guy that's definitely fallen off even for a journeyman, but in his prime, he was able to triangle choke Jamall Emmers in round 2. And Pat Sabatini also submitted him. That was in the UFC, I think, in Emmers' debut. Jamall Emmers, I don't think that was his debut. Jamall Emmers cracked Pat Sabatini and had him hurt within seconds, and then within a few more seconds, he was screaming because his leg was laced up and he was in the middle of a heel hook. So that's a tough loss, and it took a year or whatever, some time from his career, so it's really sucked for Jamall Emmers, but I don't think that's going to happen too often moving forward. And he's also got 3 decision losses. He lost to Jack Jenkins. He lost to Giga Chikadze, and again which was a very close fight. And then he lost to some other asshole by split decision way back when. So Jamall Emmers has been historically beatable, but I still think he's a guy that will have too much for Dennis Buzukja. I think Jamall Emmers strikes his way into takedowns pretty well from the outside and takes away the inside striking from Dennis Buzukja, because Buzukja is just going to want to close in on him and start ripping to the body and beating him up. But I don't think Jamall Emmers is a guy that that's going to make that easy on him. Jamall Emmers has great movement first and foremost, and then great rangy attacks followed by some well-timed takedowns. I'm taking Jamall Emmers to win this fight. His money line is minus 265. I'm not crazy about that. I was hoping to see it a little tighter, but it makes enough sense because that's my prediction. My prediction is he wins a decision. I threw a sprinkle on that because it was at plus money at plus 105, but now I think it's even under plus money. It's minus money, so that is what that is. But that's my prediction. He wins a decision here. Dennis has never been finished as a pro, and Jamall Emmers has proven to be a good grinder. So Emmers by decision is the pick. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.